I'm waiting for the computer to do its thing.
This is a Casey Stratton podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Casey Stratton podcast. It is Thursday, April 7th, 2011. I almost just said January 7th. I'm a little behind the times, not as much as some, but it is April 7th, 2011. No, it isn't. It's the 14th. Which means that I'm looking at my notes that I put up, which means my notes for this week are over there. I finally made a checklist for my new, system of doing things. One thing I neglected to put on the checklist was make sure to bring your notes over and hang them on the wall. That's okay. I think I remember everything that's in them. So it's the 14th. It's April 14th, 2011. So when I thought January and then said April, I was still indeed behind the times. But what do you do? Something. Computer stuff. Yeah, thanks everybody for letting me know that it's the 14th. Those of you who are joining me live, thank you for joining me. You can, if you are watching this recorded, join me live Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. Not always. You might want to check my Facebook, check Twitter, because, you never know if I'm going to have a life sometime. In Thursday, I might have a plan. But in general, we're going to do weekly 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Which is GMT -4 this time of the year, GMT -5 the rest of the year. So, it is April 14th. We are here. There's a lot going on in the world still, of course, there always is. In Japan, which I've been opening every show since I came back to podcasting with, the Fukushima Daiichi plant that has been having the nuclear emergency since the earthquake, upgraded the level from a 5 to a 7, and that would be a 7 out of 7. So it's now being classified as the same level as Chernobyl, which was, as we know, the worst nuclear accident that we have had in the history of nuclear power. That was in, I believe, 1986. So nuclear power plants were designed not to have these kinds of meltdowns for like thousands of years, so having two within like a 30-year period is a bit much. Not really what's supposed to happen, and I just think I don't get why there's not better earthquake preparedness. The California ones apparently are just worse. They're like, oh, we've built this plant to withstand a 6.0 earthquake. Maybe in Des Moines, but probably not in California, because they have way bigger earthquakes than 6.0. So you think, nuclear power, it can withstand a 6.0 earthquake in an earthquake, bedrock. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I like it. I'm into it. Wow. 6 inches. Naomi's telling me on the chat, which, I'm learning, but Naomi, who's joining us, Agent Owen is her chat handle, her handle on Twitter too as well. She was saying that it's snowing in Canada, in Calgary. Here it's not snowing. In fact, on Sunday it was 86 degrees, which I can't remember the centigrade equivalent, but that's quite warm. Of course, now we're back in the 50s, which is fine. I'll take that over snow anytime. So yeah, anyway. Nuclear power, terrible disaster. I mean, it shouldn't be it's not funny, but radioactivity is being released, and who knows? I mean, the effects of this will take decades, if not longer, to really get a handle on. I'm not looking at those notes. I'm not. So when you are joining us live, you can. I have to do this every time. I guess I can never do the weather because the chat window's right over here if you want to chat with each other mostly. But then I'm going to stick around afterward, and we kind of have a little convo for 10 minutes or so. It's fun. I enjoy it. What else was on that list? I'm really missing my list right about now. Oh, the government in the United States did not shut down. Smoke and mirrors, pretty much, is what I'm seeing in political theater, which would be funny if it didn't affect so many actual human beings. Now, there's a lot of conflicting information. The spin, of course, this is politics, right, is different than the reality in a lot of ways. Apparently, at first, Republicans came to the table saying they wanted $32 billion in spending cuts. Of course, the Democrats balked and said, no, that's ridiculous. This is a recession. We're in 3 wars now. Not the time really to cut that much spending. Like, running a deficit is generally acceptable when you are at war or in an economic downturn, whatever. There are economists, most economists agree, good reasons to run a deficit. Of course, the deficit that we have, which I find very interesting and typical, mostly comes from the Bush administration, and I'm not just spinning that as a liberal. The Bush tax cuts created quite a bit of lack of income. Not as much coming in, and the wars. So that's one of the main reasons. So I just don't see why Medicare's got to take the hit for Iraq, but apparently it does. So anyway, Republicans wanted. Oh hey, people are showing up. People are showing up online. I'm into it. So what was I saying? So yeah, Republicans wanted $32 billion in spending. In the end, after the compromise, $38.5 billion in cuts. That's what I meant. Republicans wanted spending cuts. So on paper, it looks like Democrats really lose, because if the other side gets more than their opening offer, then that's not really how negotiating works. I'll give you $100,000. No, I would like $300,000. Sold for $500,000. I don't get it. Okay, why not? Doesn't really make sense. But anyway, now everybody's running around saying it's this or the other. A big part of what this is, now that the economists have seen the language, have seen what's going on, is that they're giving somehow more tax cuts to the top 2% of income earning people, which in the last decade is the only bracket that has seen a raise in their income levels. Everybody else has dropped in income. But let's give them more. And they have the lowest tax rate since the 50s. But we need to cut it more, apparently. And the way that the Republicans are going to pay for that, apparently, is to have old people on Medicare pay $6,000 more a year. So for each person, this is the math, okay? I'm going to talk to you about the math of it, and then we're going to be done with the subject. The way it works out, for each person who gets a $200,000 tax break, gets to keep $200,000 of their income. These are people who are already making $1 million a year or more. 33 seniors will have to pay $6,000 a year for each one of those people to get $200,000 more. So apparently, you're 65, you can't afford health care, too bad. Not our problem. Also, people are running around saying, by the end of this fiscal year, we will have $38 billion in spending cuts, when the reality is that there are so many time frames on those that it was shown today through the Congressional Budget Office that by the end of this fiscal year, we will actually only have $350 million in spending cuts. So less than 1% of the figure that's being touted. So it's a mess. It always is. What do you do? That's what's going on in American politics. Da-di-da-di-da. So, now I'm going to move on to some questions, because earlier I didn't think I was going to get any questions, and then I got so many questions that it can fill up the entire time we're here together today. So that makes me happy. My first question came from Rodrigo, and he is a lovely listener of mine who is originally from Mexico, but now lives in Paris, France. So I'm very envious of that, really. I would love to live in Paris. If I didn't live in New York, I would want to live in Paris or London. I mean, I don't live in New York, but I'm saying it in my dream scenario. I did live in New York, so whatever. I would love to live in Paris. I've been having dreams lately for the past year or so that I go to Paris to do some sort of residency or whatever. But I would really like to brush up on my French. My French. So yeah, I guess if you say French, you really do need to brush up. I was gonna say français, which still doesn't have an in it, so I don't know what I was thinking. It's because I look at the French. I look at the chat out of the corner of my eye. I really shouldn't. It's like I'm gonna end up with the church giggles and blah blah blah. Uh-oh, some people are saying they didn't see an ad at the beginning this time. I think it's because it makes you see an ad every hour of viewing, so you might actually get an ad right in the middle of the live part. That's good times. Oh well. You can always go back and watch the recording. It is French. French, a mixture of ranch and French dressing. Tom in Tulsa. Oh, I know you from I talked about you last time. I asked if you were British. And you're from Tulsa, so that's pretty British. I don't know. He was saying French could be a mixture of ranch and French dressing, and I'm actually surprised. I have a blog that I do called Pun of a Bitch on Tumblr, where my sister and I just post like horrible, awful puns in products and such, and I'm surprised that French is not available yet. I really am, frankly. It's probably in the works. I'll bet you if I checked it, it would be patented already, or trademarked or whatever. So I guess I just broke the law by misspeaking the word French. Anyway, 20 minutes ago, Rodrigo, I was going to tell you about the question. Rodrigo wanted to know if I was planning any European touring dates because he felt that I was a very European artist and, of course, stated that that was a compliment. I take it as one, believe me. I've always considered myself to be quite a good fit for Europeans. Not everybody, of course, but I've always felt that the kind of people that I like, my influences, and the kind of music that I make, that it's great for Europe. So I've always been wanting to go, but no, right now I don't have any concrete plans. But that could change, because I was just saying the other day that it's sad because I can't even tour the United States with finances being the way they are, and just I've had honestly, if you've been following along at all, I've been having a lull a bit in my career. Things have kind of stalled a bit, so I can't risk going all over the United States, which is so gigantic, and having like 5 people show up to a show, and then I lost all this money, especially with gas now tipping $4 a gallon for American dollars. But you never know with Europe, because Europe is very different with touring. They really Europeans respect musicians a lot more, and artists in general, a lot more than Americans do, in my experience. There is a certain like I puff up my chest to say, as an artist, I will say, there's a certain not reverence, but there's just a respect for the craft. It's not how it is here, where they think a lot of people think, well, it's a hobby, who says you deserve to be paid? I'm like, oh, I don't know, I worked my whole life on it. And this will tie in later, actually, with another question I got. But it's a lot of training. Yes, I do understand that there are some people that learn their 3 guitar chords and think they're like brilliant musicians, and that's fine. If the public wants that kind of stuff, then more power to you. Make your money, have a good time. But I am the kind of artist who takes it very seriously as a trade and a craft, and I do a lot of study. We talk about this all the time. Anyway, I would love to go to Europe, so I'm hoping, and you never know. This is what I was going to say, in Europe, it's very different, because when you play a club in Europe, they tend to give you somewhere to stay and meals. And people will stay and just listen to you play for like 4 hours. It's just a very different thing. From what I've heard from fellow musicians who tour Europe. So you're much more well taken care of. So ironically, because Europe is smaller geographically than the United States, and because they provide so much to artists, it would in some ways be cheaper for me to tour Europe than it would be the United States, except for the fact that I would have to be flying to Europe to start the tour. And figuring out what to do with a keyboard, I don't know how I'd fly that there. I would probably have to try to book places that had pianos already, because going through customs every day, if you're playing, not every day, but usually you would do like a week in each country, like you would do 5 or 6 dates in Italy and 5 or 6 in France. I like just even talking about this. This is making me excited. So that's the scoop. I would love to, and it's possible. It's really not impossible, but what is? Nothing is impossible. It's my motto. So thank you, Rodrigo, for that question. My next question comes from Gabby, and she wanted to know a little bit more about my songwriting process. Which and she did say, if you've talked about this previously, I apologize, but she some of the podcast she couldn't see through iTunes or listen to the old ones, and I know we've talked about it, but we're going to talk about it again, because you can never talk too much about songwriting. It's fun, at least I think it's fun. So this is what I do. I sit down, usually at the piano, sometimes at the guitar. Here's a little, like, if I were on Twitter, it would be one of those 100 facts about me. A lot of time when I have hair dye in my hair, I play the piano. The guitar. It's been one of those weeks. I played the piano with my French dressing. Yeah, I play the guitar a lot while my hair dye is in. Okay, bloopers. This is why I love that I'm live. I'm turning red even. It's good times. I like it. Yeah, when I have hair dye in my hair, I'll play the guitar. So sometimes I write songs that way. Sometimes I do write songs on the guitar. I always write the music first. And I just found out via NPR and my friend Roberta on Twitter that it is a rare French piano. So, yeah, James wanted to know. if a French guitar was, yeah, okay. So what am I saying? Oh, on NPR, and my friend Roberta told me this on Twitter. I should quit while I'm ahead, apparently. Paul Simon, not Neil Simon, Paul Simon also writes music first and then lyrics. I do that almost exclusively. There have been a few times in my life where I've been like on a bus trip or something and I just jot down some lyrics and then I write a song to that. That's rare. And there have been a few times where I've taken other things like the Yeats poems that I set for The Sun Is Burning. That was one time where I had to, of course, because the lyrics were already written. But yeah, I just kind of cruise around on the piano and I mess around. Sometimes I just play with sounds and I just get an idea of a melody going. And I tend to just play that over and over and over and kind of get in the swing, you know. And then you start finding little, intricacies. And that comes down to just, I mean, the song is the song to me. Like you write the framework of it, the skeleton of it. And then you start messing around with it going, oh, there's a musculature there or whatever. But I mean, the song is pretty much written once you get your chord progression put together and stuff. Maybe I'd say once you get a melody line going or something. I don't know. But I get a piano part going and I start augmenting that or adding things and taking things away. The final piano part, most of the time, I'm going to be really honest with you, is not set in stone until I hit record. And then I have a framework there, but a lot of those little nuances that you'll hear me go dee or whatever, you know, like flying around. In a song, a lot of that is improvised. So I kind of never do it the same way twice. And then I never really play it again until I get ready to go on the road or do a show and play a song live. And then I have to go in and like learn my own part because I've forgotten. And I actually heard, this is an interesting side story, that Tori Amos did that with Cornflake Girl, all that like toodaloo crazy piano stylings, all those stylings. She had to go back and literally like have a crash course, like days and days and days of learning her own piano part because it was hard. Please, I can still not play it. I can fake it out with Cornflake Girl, but I can't do it the real thing she does. Heck no. It's like Rachmaninoff. I can't do it. I have limitations. I'm totally down with that. I understand them. I didn't study to be a concert pianist. I always make sure to enunciate that word perfectly well, as well as I can. Anyway, I get the song fragment, and one thing that I generally do, not always, but most of the time, okay, let me do this the right way. Sometimes I will just start singing along a melody, and I will hit record, and I'll get an idea of what the melody is, and then I'll just record kind of like a nonsense kind of demo thing. I don't always do that. In fact, it's more rare that I do than I don't. Sometimes I do that, and then sometimes I'll live with that for months even, and then I'll come back and I'll record with production. But generally, when I say like, oh, I wrote a song, it also means I recorded the song. Like usually the day I write the song, I also start putting the parts together on my computer, which is behind me, which is why I made that gesture. And then I'll put the whole track together and put the final, put a piano part, maybe not final, but I'll put a piano part down and I'll put everything down and then I'll write the words. Once I have this whole track like done with like drums and everything, then I sit down and go, okay, time to write lyrics. And I'll do that. I have this very like voodoo thing with lyrics. I don't feel strong as a lyricist, even though people think I am or whatever. That's fine. That's an opinion and it's subjective, but I write words really fast. Like there was the song Questions from Hear the City. My friend was like, that song has some really intricate lyrics. How long did it take you to write them? And I was like, oh, a really long time, 40 minutes. So I understand that that's weird, but for some reason for me, it's just like, boom, this is why some people think it's weird, like that when you write the music first and then write lyrics, you're being forced into a mathematical rhythmic structure. So it is, I could see how people would think that would be very hard. I like that. I think that helps me. To have that like, okay, whatever, and I know what the melody is, and I'm thinking of the melody while I'm writing the words, so I'm thinking about the way that I can turn the phrase while I'm singing, the phrasing of the vocal, because I used to write standalone poetry sometimes, and I always think of that differently than lyrics, because poetry is meant to just be read, or even read aloud. Lyrics are meant to be sung. So sometimes, like, if I'm like on the phone with a friend and I say I wrote a song, not on like Millionaire or anything, but just on the phone with a friend, not to win any sort of cash prize, although I would love to, they'll say, oh, read the words to me. And I'm like, no, heck no, I'm not going to read the words to you. Their words are going to sound stupid if you read them out loud. So I tend to think that sometimes they sound silly when they're just read aloud. But anyway, I like that structure. I write words really fast. I throw it on a scratch vocal, which in recording terms is just a vocal that you need to know what the vocal is, and you're going to redo it later. So it's really, craptastic is fine. Anything's fine. I don't judge it. And it's like a placeholder. And then I add a bunch of background vocals. I sit there and I think, oh, this would be cool here, and this would be cool there, and I sing all that. I do all my background parts 3 times each. So if you listen to the background vocals, especially if you have headphones on or whatever, you'll hear that they sound so layered because they are layered, and there's 3 of each part. Pat Leonard taught me that because for some reason odd numbers of things in recordings sound fuller than even numbers. So 3 vocals sounds bigger than 4, and of course sounds bigger than 2. Who knows why? I don't know. It's a mystery. So I used to double what's called doubling vocals, background vocals. Now I triple them. So I do all that. I put it all together. I have to do a bunch of stuff because I don't have like the most professional version of Pro Tools. I have what's called Pro Tools LE, which is kind of like Pro Tools Lite. So I have to do what's called bouncing, which is where I have to take things that are multi-tracks and turn them into 2-track, like background vocal parts. I take those 3 tracks, I add effects to them. I turn those into 2 stereo tracks. Anyway, this is engineering, Chinese, I know. Anyway, I do all that. I come back, I sing a final lead. I do the first rough mix, and we're off. To me, that's become what songwriting is. I mean, every once in a while, especially if I'm not home, obviously, then I'll just write a song on the piano. And sometimes, like I said, I told my computer not to sleep. Hello, come back. Like, my display just went to sleep, and I told it not to. It's the screensaver. I didn't tell it not to do the screensaver. Something to add to the checklist list. I can't function. The checklist. This is like the most craptastic. No, it's the more bloopers than ever, but I love them. I'm turning red again. Can you it's mostly just because it's funny. It's embarrassing, but it's not embarrassing because it's not. It's more memorable to me. I'm like that with live shows too. Like I like it to be memorable, like with a mistake. Did you like how I just said memorable the proper way? Because I didn't want to acknowledge that I made another mistake. But then I started thinking, oh my God, people are gonna think that I think the word is memorable. Because if the online world has told us nothing, it's that a lot of people are really not very intelligent. That's all I'm saying. So, now I'm coughing to death. Excuse me, I've been having seasonal allergies. This may go down now. It's like my favorite podcast ever. Oh, now it's just actually dark. I'm not that red. It's getting darker. Amen. What are we amening? Tom says amen. I know it did go by fast, probably because it was funny. Oh yeah, the stupid people. Yeah, like if I trip over a word, I'm saying my brain went, you better go back and fix that because people are going to think you think that's what it is. I see so many, especially Facebook, right? You see Facebook statuses and you're like, or is it stati? No, I think it's statuses. And you think, what the heck? Not good. Anyway, Robert on Facebook asked me what my favorite key is to write songs in, which kind of goes in with that, although I kind of ran out of time. And it is B flat. So this is B flat major, but I didn't plan anything to play in B flat. So what could I sing in B flat of mine? Ooh, you know what could be fun? Not even mine. No one's picking up the phone. Guess it's me and this little masochist. She's ready to confess all the things that I never thought that she could feel. And hey, Jupiter, nothing's been the same, so are you gay? Are you blue? Thought we both could use a friend to run to. And I thought I wouldn't have to keep with you something new. So Guess it's clear he's gone, and this little masochist, she's lifting up her dress. Guess I thought I could never feel the things I'm feeling. Hey Jupiter, nothing's been the same, so are you gay? Are you blue? Thought we both could use a friend to run to. Hey Jupiter, nothing's been the same, so are you safe? Now we're through. I thought we both could use a friend to run to. Hey Jupiter. So that was Hey Jupiter by Tori Amos, which was completely unexpected. I haven't played the full version of that since 1996 itself. Now I think about it, because I always add it to the end of my Purple Rain cover, just the ending. Hoi. What are you saying? Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you. I know, right? Now the rest of the day I'm gonna be going, whoo! Now everyone had to turn down their speakers too. So, wow, right on time. Oh, right on time. Speaking of Boys for Pele, Carter Sneeze is one of my favorite Tori songs. Anyway, that's that for this week. Thanks again for listening and watching. And like I said, if you join me at 6:30 Eastern time, American time, of course, GMT -4 we're in daylight saving time right now. On Thursday evening, 6:30, you can catch it live on Ustream. I'm on the same channel that you're probably watching it on. And, you know, we chat, we have fun, and we stick around for a little extra credit after class. So I hope you have a good week. It is, in fact, the 14th of April, not the 7th. And, oh, of course, I need to quick shout out to Patty, my best friend's dog. Patty died this weekend on Sunday. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's hard for me to talk about too. But, you know, we're kind of like Three's Company. I live across the street. So it's like that. I'm like that, Larry guy or whatever. So I'm always over there. So I've known her for 7 years. So that was tough. So tough on my friend and tough on me as well. So, you know, hard. I miss her a lot. So we're, you know, sending it up. Maybe we'll dedicate little Hey Jupiter to Patty up in the heavens. So, yeah, that was sad. She was 13, though. She was a pug, and she was 13. She had a good life. So we're sending off to her. Love and kisses to her in doggy heaven. And, yeah, what a way to end. That's great. But I didn't want to forget to say something. So I will see. My name is Casey Stratton. Oh, CaseyStratton.com is my website. Store.CaseyStratton.com. It's always good to do a pitch after you talk about something so terrible, isn't it? Store.CaseyStratton.com is my digital store. You can send me questions to podcasts@CaseyStratton.com if you have them. You can also find me on Twitter, which is twitter.com/CaseyStratton, or Facebook.com/CaseyStrattonMusic. Is my music page. Facebook.com/Casey Stratton is my personal page, which is more private, and I'm very political and stuff on there. I'm very opinionated, which I'm sure no one would ever have imagined that I have opinions about things. So I do, and I express them. But I never do on the music page, so, you know, if our politics don't mesh and you can't hang, I'm cool with that. Although I'm going to warn you, Twitter, I'm even worse than anywhere else. It's fun. Social networking is interesting because you get to decide where to insert your personality and where not to in some ways, or your opinions. Anyway, thanks again. Those of you who are chatting with me, I'll still see you in a second. Just give me a minute to fill in some blanks. And my name is Casey Stratton. You know this already. It's posted all over the thing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm acting like I'm playing a gig. Probably because I just sang Hey Jupiter, which I close with a lot. So anyway, thanks again for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.